You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowing like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look up better put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the fourth part of What If Naruto Enters Winxclub. Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of Pixel's Fanbook on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Back with our heroes. The Winx were continuing to look around the room, looking at the books as they noticed something for each of them. Hey, check this out. This book is about a fairy named Rosepetal Lilyjewel. Flora says, picking out a book from a shelf. Musa goes over to another shelf and picks one book out and reads the cover. This one's about a witch named Abigail. Just saying that name gives me goosebumps. Musa says while shivering. She places the book back into its place. Just imagine, all the history and recordings of every fairy and witch that ever existed here in one place. Bloom says, amazed at this, but she begins to think about something. That's really fascinating, Bloom, but I think we should get out of here before we get caught by someone. Tenka says with Naruto agreeing. Yeah, sooner or later, someone's going to feel your magical presence and catch us. Naruto says, placing a book back. Bloom then turns to them and puts her hands together at them. Oh please guys, just a little bit longer. If all history of fairies is here, then there's got to be one of me somewhere in here. If I can find out, maybe I can find out more about who I am. Please. This could be my only chance. Bloom pleads with them. Naruto and Tekna look at her pleading before turning to each other and sigh. Alright, but we have to be quick on this. Everyone, look for a book with Bloom's name on it. It should be a fresher one than the rest here since she's still new. Naruto. Thank you guys. Bloom thanks them. The group start looking for a book that looked new and had Bloom's name on it. After a few moments. I found it. Musa yells, the rest go to her at the back of the room and they see her, standing in front of a large colored book with Bloom's name written in gold on the cover. This got to be it. Bloom says. She goes over to the book and was about to open it when Tekna stops her. Wait, maybe you shouldn't read it. Maybe it has your future in it. Tenka says. What's wrong with knowing your future? That way, you'll know what's going to happen. Stella says, not seeing what's the big deal in that. That's the problem, knowing in one's future can lead to unpleasant ends. If I were you, I wouldn't open that book. But it's your choice. Tenka says as Bloom looks at the book and slowly nods, understanding what Tenka was saying. Okay. Bloom says, but soon, she felt something from the book. A pull that was calling only her to come to it and read it. But, I have to know where my powers came from. That's all. Bloom says as she slowly and shakenly draws her hand closer to the book. Just when she was about to touch it, tentacles shot out from the book and wrap around Bloom's arm, startling her and the others. Acting fast, Naruto grabs one of the weapons that was near the book, which was a black and purple Tonto dagger, and cuts the tentacles, freeing Bloom. Soon, the book briefly transforms into a monster that laughed at them before returning back to the book's original shape and design. The book, Bloom was speaking before Naruto grabs her, interrupting her as he discards the dagger. Bloom, that book doesn't want to be read. I think that's our cue to leave. Come on. Naruto yells, dragging Bloom along as he and the others rush towards the exit. Just as they reach it, the door suddenly changes into a wall, merging with the one it was in. Naruto goes to the door and taps on it, feeling that it was real. Not to state obvious, but we're trapped. Naruto says. There got to be a way out. Bloom says. Tenka backs up a bit and points her finger like a gun at the door. Let's try a little magic blast. Tenka yells, firing a blast of her magic to the door with the magical blast hitting its target, causing dust and smoke to fill the room as it implodes. Once the dust and smoke clear away, the group look at the door and see it was perfectly fine. Damn it, not a dent to it. Tenka says, frustrated at this. Naruto pats her shoulder as he looks at the door. Let me try. Naruto says, rolling out his sleeve and equipping his katana. He rushes to the door and his blade catches ablaze. He arcs the blade up in the air, right by the door. Fire art, flame strike. Naruto yells as he slashes at the door. The attack creates a large slash onto the door but it remained intact. CRP. I got a scratch but it's still standing. Naruto says while extinguishing his flame. At this rate, we'll get caught. Flora says. How about some magic conversation? Maybe with our power combined, we could blast through the door. That might work. But we have to do this quick. Naruto says as he steps back from the girls so they could transform. He's right, girls. Let's transform. Magic Winx. Bloom yells and the girls transform into their fairy forms. Everybody ready? Bloom asks as the girls nod and starts gathering their magic together. Naruto stood next to them and was about to use his flame art when he thought of something else to use. Maybe I should use another art this time, so it'll cut through the wall easier. Naruto thought. His blade stops heating up, and instead, the dust around him started to circle around him as his and the girl's hair moved when wind started to arc off Naruto's blade and around him. Fire. Bloom yells as the girls blast their magic to the door with Naruto arcing his katana in the air. Wind art, razor edge. Naruto yells as he swings the sword downwards, creating a wind magic powered arc to shoot out of his sword and travel with the girls' blasts. The attacks impact with the door and cause a massive explosion with the wind attack blowing smoke and dust, forcing our heroes to close their eyes. Once the dust and smoke started to clear away, our heroes open their eyes once more and see that their attacks had finally opened the door. Let's go. Musa shouts as the group rush out of the room and starts running through the hallways. As they run, Stella turns to Naruto. Naruto, what was that new move? Never seen you use that one before. Stella asks as Naruto turns to her. Oh, that one was one of my other sword techniques I created. Remember, my sword was made to absorb magical energy from the surroundings and sort it in the blade for me to use at any moment. The runes engraved onto the blade act as an elemental enforcer. With them, I wield and use the elements to my will. Naruto says. That's really cool. Stella says, smiling at him and causing her fellow blonde to blush and sheepishly smile. Thanks. Naruto says. The group ran down the many hallways for minutes until Tenka noticed something. Everyone stop. Tenka yells, forcing everyone to stop. What? What's wrong? Musa asks, panting. We're running in a circle. We've passed that shield before. Tekna says. What? Are you serious? Flora asks with Tenka regrettably nodding. Yeah, I have a photographic memory. I can see things in great detail. Tenka answers. Great, that's no end to this place. So, now what? Musa asks with no one knowing what to do. Just then Naruto started to hear something. Do you guys hear something? Naruto asks, with the girls now hearing something coming towards them. They turn to the left, where the source and see an army of giant spiders. Stella screams as the group spots the army of arachnoids crawling on the wall towards them. They turn back around and were about to run for it when they see more arachnoids approaching them. There's more behind us. Musa yells with them backing up into the middle of the hall. What are we going to do? Flora asks. Naruto springs into action and releases another razor edge attack to the arachnoids, slicing through most of them while pushing the others back. Seeing that Naruto had granted them a short window, the girls quickly cast a magical barrier around them. The arachnoids get back up and crawl towards the barrier and leap onto it, but on the touch of it, they instantly catch a blaze and melt into a pile of ashes on the ground in front of the barrier. Ha! How do you lie burning yet DMN eight-legged freaks? Stella yells, seeing one of her most dislikable things alive burn to death, which brought joy to her. While Naruto whistles and turns to her. DMN Stella, didn't take you as a SDST. Naruto quips as the girls profoundly blush, with Stella's blush being the most noticeable. What are you talking about? I'm not a SDST. I just hate spiders. Stella stutters as Naruto just smirks. I don't know, most people don't know or aren't aware of kinks they could have until something pushes them in discovering them. And I think this is that moment for you. Naruto says as Stella lowers her head to make sure her blush and embarrassed expression was not seen. PP please stop. Stella says. The mood was awkward, but it'd soon change as the burnt spiders soon regenerated and were started to advance to the barrier, but this time, instead of burning to death, they were unaffected by the barrier's effect, and the group have started to notice this. Oh, they're starting to break into the barrier. Bloom says. Anyone else got any idea on dealing with these pests? Musa asks. I've got one. Flora winks as she lowers her hands and starts flapping her wings. Follow me, girls. Flora says as she takes off to the ceiling, with the other girls following her. Just before she was about to take off, Musa turns to Naruto and holds her hand out to him. Grab on, Naruto. I'll carry you up. Musa says with the blonde holding her hand. She takes off and the two join the rest just above the spiders. So, what's the plan, Flora? Stella asks. Whenever that's a pest problem back home in my realm, we use a spell to help us deal with it. Flora says and turns below to the spiders. She holds her hand out and blows out green magical dust from it and onto the ground. Suddenly, something emerges from the ground under the spiders and grows larger and larger until it towers over the spider. A spider's worst natural enemy. A appealing spider eater. Flora says, with a giant spider eater being the thing she summoned as it starts devouring and stomping the spiders like there's no tomorrow. Whoa. Who knew prose? Palladium's lessons would come in handy. Stella says, amazed by this. Was there any doubt? Flora asks. The Winx watched the spider eater continue eating and stomping the spiders until there were no more living spiders and the spider eater explodes into magical sparks. The Winx land back onto the floor and see the crushed remains of the spiders. Well, that was easy. Musa says, setting Naruto back to the floor. Yeah, but I get the feeling that things are not over. Bloom says. Stella just walks in front of them and stands by the remains. Oh, come on, guys. Let's not sell ourselves short. We dealt with the problem efficiently and we didn't get hurt whatsoever. Stella proudly says. Totally unaware that the remains of the spiders have morphed into sludge and were starting to gather together in front of the Winx. Stella. Not to rain on your parade, but maybe it's time we leave, now. Naruto yells, causing Stella to look and see a red, monstrous sludge monster before her. They quick run down the hall with the sludge monster giving chase. Come on, let's fly out of here and create some distance from that thing. Bloom suggests, with most of the girls agree, but what about Naruto? Flora asks, knowing that the only human among them can't fly. I can keep up with you guys, just fly. Naruto shouts as the girls were reluctant at first, but they soon took off and were fly at their current top speed. They looked down to see how Naruto was doing, and to their shock, he was not only keeping up with them but was actually starting to move ahead. How do we get out of here? Musa asks, turning from her shock to the sludge monster and seeing it was still chasing them. We can try and backtrack ourselves and see if we can get back to the way we came. Naruto says. Good idea. Bloom says. They start to turn the hallways, backtracking their way, and it looked like they were making progress. Just when they took another turn, something unexpected happened. It's a dead end. Bloom yells as they come to a stop at a wall with a strange door in front of them. This wasn't here the first time. Tenka says, knowing that this dead end wasn't here when they first ran down this hallway. Soon, the group hear the sludge monster approaching them, and fast. What are we going to do now? Flora asks. We don't have any other choice but to face him. Naruto says. All of them turn around and wait for the monster as they ready their attacks. Moments pass and the sludge monster appears and they took the shot. Fire. Naruto yells as they all fire their attacks onto it, causing it to explode into a ball of flames with the hall filling in smoke. The smoke clears away and we see them standing behind a green shield, made by Tekna to protect them from the backlash. She drops the shield and sees that the monster had been defeated. Well, that's taken care of. Musa says as Naruto reseals his blade away back into his arm ruin. We've still got a problem. Stella says, pointing to the door behind them. Naruto walks up to it and kicks it in, forces the door to open. Not anymore, we don't. Whoa. Naruto says as he looks into the room. The girls look at the room and see it was filled with strange items, unorganized and laying around in the room. What is this place? Bloom asks. I've heard about these rooms, but I never thought they'd be real. Stella says. What rooms? Bloom asks. Witches are really messy people. Instead of organizing their library or cataloging their stuff, they just chuck away their things like this room. Stella says as they enter the room and close the door, unaware of it locking. What an eerie silence. It's like there's no life in this place. I have a bad feeling about this. Musa says as she looks around a bit. She soon hears something crawling at her and looks down. She sees something she dislikes. A large insect crawling toward her. A bacilli monster. Musa yells in fright. She backed away from it while shivering. Stella runs up to her with Musa hiding behind her. Don't worry. I'll take care of it. Sun shower. Stella yells as she fires a bright magic blast around the room, forcing everyone to close their eyes to the light. Soon, the blast ends and everyone opens their eyes and see the damage the stack did to the room. Items were destroyed and damaged while the wall had holes in it and some fire was burning. Where did it go? Musa asks. Stella looks around a bit and sees the burnt, twitching form of the insect. Haha, got burnt by the sun. Next time, think about you try and sneak up on my friend again. Stella triumphantly says. But the small fire that was made from her attack soon combined and set a flame on the rest of the items in the room. Whoa, whoa. The fire's growing. Naruto shouts as the fire was growing at a rapid rate. The group back up from the flame and found themselves in the middle of the room with the fire surrounding them. Nice going, Stella. Musa says, glaring at the princess as Stella rubs the back of her head. Sorry. Stella says. The group soon start to cough as the smoke in the room was making its way into their lungs. The smoke. It's so tight I can't breathe properly. Flora says, starting to feel lightheaded. And the fire's blocking the only way out. We're trapped again. Tenka says, seeing the irony. If we don't find a way out in time, we're going to suffocate to death or get burned alive. Whatever kills us first. Naruto says, looking for a way out. Bloom was thinking and blaming herself as she got her friends into this mess for wanting to find out about her past and now her curiously was going to kill them. However, she starts to hear a voice within her mind. Bloom looks around to see who spoke but she found no one. She hears the voice again and her eyes glaze as if she was in a trance. Bloom starts walking towards the fire as the rest were alerted by this and see her walk up to the firewall. She continues to walk and the fire strangely parts ways for her as she continues to walk until stops at a wall with a painting on it. She touches the paint and it opens up to reveal a tunnel that seemed to lead the way out. The others go over to her and see Bloom was in a trance. "Bloom? Are you okay?" Naruto asks as he places his hand on her shoulder, causing Bloom to snap out of her trace and regain her senses. What? What just happened?" Bloom asks, seeming that she didn't remember anything. "What do you mean? Don't you know what you did?" Stella asks as Bloom shakes her head no. Musa turns around and sees the fire was growing larger and larger and was heading towards them. "Can we talk about this later? Can we get out of here?" Musa yells. The rest turn and see the fire approaching them. "You're right. Ladies first." Naruto yells as the girls jump into the tunnel first and he follows. They slide down the tunnel with the fire closely following them. Bloom exits the tunnel and lands on the ground and sees that she was back in the underground tunnels. She looks up and sees Tenka shoot out of the exit shot and land on her, with Stella, Musa, Flora, and Naruto landing as well with the fire shooting out, missing them. The group groans from the landing and crashes into one another as the girls power down back to their civilian forms. "Not our best landing." Bloom groans as they get off one another. "Yeah, but mission accomplished," Stella says, holding her hand out and flashing the sword ring. Naruto gets up and dusts himself off smoke, smog, and dirt. "Good. Now, let's get out of here before anything else tries to do something," Naruto says with the girls nodding. "Good idea," the girls say. They start walking through the tunnel back to Althea. On the way, Naruto turns to Bloom. "Hey, Bloom," Naruto says, making Bloom turn to him. "Yeah, what's up?" Bloom asks. "I've got to ask, how'd you do that? Making the fire move from you and know where the exit chute was?" Naruto asks, drawing everyone else as they were thinking the same thing. Bloom just doesn't know what to say as she lets out a sigh and looks up to the stone ceiling. "I actually don't know what you're talking about. I don't remember anything until you touched me." "Then what do you remember?" Musa asks. "All I remember was hearing this voice in my head. It was telling me how to get to safety." "Really? You hear a voice in your head?" Naruto asks, interested in this. "Yeah, it was a sweet, kind voice that spoke to me through the flame. It felt like I've known that voice forever." Bloom says, Naruto took this and felt like he needed to speak with someone about his situation too. "Well, whatever it was. It got us out a hot spot, that's for sure." Stella jokes as Musa discreetly gags at the poor joke. "Stella, you're so funny. I busted my gut," Tenka sarcastically says. "But hey, our plan worked. We got my ring back and the witches don't know a thing," Stella says, looking at her ring. "But I'm still curious, why did they want with your ring?" Naruto asks, remembering the notes and books on the Great Dragon back in their room. Stella just shrugs her shoulders. "Who knows? But we got them. The Winx have got the power." Stella proudly yells, feeling triumphant about their victory. Another 1.5 traversing through the tunnels. Our heroes return home and see it was sunrise, showing them that they were at Cloud Tower all night. "I can't wait to get some rest," Flora says, now starting to feel the exhaustion. "You can say that again. I'm so tired I don't think I can make it through the day," Bloom says, feeling equally exhausted. "Yeah, I think it's time to cash in on our sick day," Musa says. "I'm going marry my bed today," Naruto tiredly says, causing the girls to laugh. As they were about to part easy. The six stopped walking and turned to the source of a cough and see Griselda, standing behind them with her arms crossed and having a frown on her face. Obviously, you all like to break the rules. You six are in big trouble. Griselda says. Auntie? What's wrong? What's going on? Naruto asks, only to feel his arms and legs get bonded by something. He looks down and sees magical binds wrap around him and saw they look familiar. He looks around and sees Faragonda, with her hands glowing with magic as she was the one binding him and the girls, and see her having a frown on her face as well. Girls, Naruto, in my office. Now. Faragonda says, causing the 16s to feel fear, with Naruto globing the lump in his throat. He knew he was in a deep mess as he's only seen his granny like this a few times before. Althea Headmistress Office. Morning. We find ourselves in Faragonda's office where the WinxClub were standing in front of her and Griselda and they had unpleasant and disappointed expressions on their faces. The girls stood here nervously as one of them was put off by something in the room with them. Headmistress? Flora asks. Yes, Miss Flora. Faragonda says. Why is Naruto tied up in that cloth and his mouth covered? Flora asks, pointing to her side. True to her words. We see Naruto sitting on one of the chairs, with his legs and arms was restrained, along with his mouth being covered by the same cloth he was wrapped in when they got caught by Faragonda and Griselda and was brought with the girls to her office. That is just something we came up with to prevent him from escaping. Believe us girls, we've had to do this since he's caused a few issues here and had to be restrained to question him. Faragonda says, nonchalantly as possible with the girls thinking on it. What did he do that to make them be so causal in doing this? The girls thought, not really knowing if they should know what he did or not. Now children, I received a message from Professor Griffin, the head witchtress of Cloud Tower. My colleague was furious. She tells me that you six broke into her school last night, broke into one of their archives, and destroyed their lower storage room with magic. Is that true? Faragonda asks. The girls and Naruto look away from her, solidifying that they did all those things last night. Faragonda sees this and knew it was true. I see, you're in a lot of trouble. I won't tolerate such behavior. In my eye. Now, what do you have to say for yourselves? Faragonda asks. None of the girls could find the courage in speaking the truth out front at first, but Bloom slowly started to gather hers. She knew it was her idea in breaking into Cloud Tower, so she felt that she had to take the blame for this. Ma'am, Bloom was about to say but Griselda cuts her off. Ma'am, if I may? Griselda asks, gaining her boss's attention. Yes, what is it? Faragonda says. Whatever their reason was in making them do what they did. Their punishment should be exemplary. Griselda says. What do you mean? Faragonda asks. Seeing that these students had went out without permission. I would suggest that they be grounded and have their magical power revoked until such a date you deem is right. In addition, in cleaning the entire campus. Griselda says, causing the girls to get shocked at the punishment. But ma'am, you wouldn't do that. Would you? Stella asks, not believing the headmistress had the heart to do it. Wouldn't I? There are very few things I wouldn't do. Faragonda says before summoning a magic light contrast and sends it to the girls as they felt their powers start to get locked as they begin to float in the air. And revoking your powers is not one of them. Faragonda says as the light finishes sealing the girls' magical powers away as they land back to the ground. While the girls were gathering their strength back from the ceiling, Faragonda then turns to Naruto who had a smug expression, though, it could not be seen thanks to the binding on his mouth as he knew he had nothing to lose. Ha, good luck Granny. Remember, I don't have magical powers in me. Just stored up magic in my rune and sword. Do your worst. Naruto thought. As if she knew what he was thinking, Faragonda narrows her eyes at him. I won't be so smug young man. Have you forgotten I can lock your access to the rune on your arm? Faragonda says, causing Naruto's eyes to snap open in shock. She snaps her fingers and the binding on Naruto unwraps itself off him, but only one of the bindings wraps around his rune tattoo. When it finished wrapping itself onto his forearm, Faragonda started to write runes in the air with magic before finishing and sending the inscriptions onto the binding. Once the inscriptions went on the binding, they flashed a few times before settling down and turning black. Naruto gets up and looks at the binding on him and the runes before looking at Faragonda. What's this? Naruto asks. That is your punishment, Naruto. Faragonda says. Naruto raises one of his eyebrows, not really getting how this was going to punish him. Okay, I really don't see how this will gah. Naruto was saying as he grabs onto the wrapping and was about to rip it off him when the binding sent a shock, shocking him until he lets go of it. Naruto falls to his knees in pain as he slowly looks up to Faragonda. I placed level 10 rune seals on the cloth to block your seal. The seals were designed in sending an electric shock whenever you try in removing the binding or try to gain access to your weapons. Prevent you from using them. Faragonda says. Naruto grunts as he gets back up to his feet with the girls finally gaining their strength back and doing the same as they all stood in front of the headmistress. I hope you all will learn your lesson from this, children. Faragonda says, with an unhappy look on her face. Now, head to your rooms and think about what you've done. You won't be attending today's classes or heading to work until your punishment is over. And report to Miss Griselda's office first thing tomorrow morning to start your other punishment. Understand? The teens could only nod, with downcast expressions on their faces as the girls left the room through the door while Naruto took the secret exit by the bookcase to the tunnels. In the Winx dorm. 10 minutes later. In Stella's room, we see the Winx were just lounging around, sad from their punishments as some were sitting on a chair or sofa, standing/leaning against a wall, or looking out of the window. Man, this sucks. We lost my magic and now we've got to clean the whole school. Musa says, in a sad tone. Yeah, but maybe we should just lay down and veg out for a while. Stella says, laying on her bed, trying to lighten up the mood. Maybe if you hadn't challenged Miss Faragonda like that, we could have gotten off easier. Flora says, but Tekna just shakes her head. Nope, they wouldn't have changed a thing. They'd still would have gone through with it even if we explained what happened. Tekna says. Tekna's right. This is the merciful out we got. The worst they could have done is expel you guys and lock me in my room until who knows how long. I'm such she knows what happened last night since the head witch Tess caught us. Naruto says. She must think we're a bunch of naive kids after being taken in by that book. How were we to know that it was a trap? Musa asks. Bloom sighs as she stares out of the window, seeing the other students go about on their day. We couldn't have and we're totally powerless. I'm so sorry I got you into this mess, guys. Bloom says, looking down to the floor. Naruto gets off the wall and heads to her, patting her head. It's not your fault, Bloom. We're all equally responsible for this since we went through with the plan, so don't beat yourself up on it. Naruto says as he smiles at the redhead, making her blush a bit as he takes his hand off her head, much to her dismay as he turns back to the others. We're going to get back at the tricks. They started this thing, well, we're going to end it. Naruto says. But how? We don't have our power and you're locked out from sword. Musa. We'll see the right moment when it appears. Right now, they're in the lead in this war but we'll bounce back. No issues. Naruto says. The girls were starting to feel better from his words and smiles. You're right. This is far from over. Bloom says with the other girls agreeing. Soon, Stella gets up from her bed and looks at everyone. So, what do you guys want to do? Stella asks as Naruto lets out a long yawn with him looking sleepy and exhausted. I'm going to bed. Remember, we were up and out all night. Naruto says, causing the others to yawn, now starting to remember how sleepy and tired they were. Right, from how we got caught and having our powers taken away. I forgot how sleepy I am. Flora says, letting out a yawn of her own. Guess we should hit the hay. Since we've got a long day tomorrow. Musa suggests with everyone nodding. Yeah, I'll see you all later. Bye. Naruto says as he processes to exit the bedroom and head to his hatch. Bye Naruto. The girls wave Naruto goodbye with him doing the same as he leaves the dorm. Saturday, the next day. Griselda's office Althea. It was the next day and the Winx were together, refreshed and energized as they were inside Griselda's office, standing in front of her desk as the assistant headmistress was sitting, looking at them with a calm stare. Your intrusion into Cloud Tower Castle was extremely rude, young ladies and young man. You all exposed yourselves to great danger, that's the reason why your powers and weapons have been revoked. It is sufficient punishment. Griselda says, she gets up from her desk and walks around it before turning to the teens. But for me, sufficient is not enough. Now, just so you all will remember this lesson, you will spend the entire day inside the school, cleaning the campus of it. Top to bottom. Griselda says, scaring the teens at the task. The whole campus. Flora stammers, seeing just how big the campus was. No, just the stairs, hallways, classrooms, and bathrooms. Griselda says, much to the teens' relief as Stella lets out a breath of relief. Oh. Well, that's okay. I just thought it'd be much worse honestly. Stella says, causing Bloom to giggle a bit until she stops as she sees Griselda staring at her. Griselda just shakes her head before clapping her hand, conjuring a small magic ball which flies around the room until heading to the side of the room, conjuring cleaning supplies as such buckets, mops, gloves, brooms, wipes, and other supplies in the 6 buckets. And since you don't have access to your magical powers at the moment. Griselda says as she grabs one of the brooms, these will be your work tools. I believe you're familiar with them. Griselda says, tossing the broom to Naruto who catches it and looks at. Hello, old friend. It's nice to see you again. Naruto says, seeing that this broom was his, from how the engraving on the handle was still there. Tekna saw the broom and was fascinated by it as she pulls out her handheld computer. What an interesting object. Let's see what my computer says about it. Tekna says, typing away on the device. Griselda sees her device and that remained her of one more thing. Oh, and one more thing. Griselda goes over to Tenka and takes the computer out of her hands as she confiscates it, much to Tenka's dismay. There will be no techno gadgets allowed while you work. Griselda says, causing Tenka to get depressed. Now that's a punishment on its own. Tekna says, causing the girls to slightly giggles. Now, tomorrow I will conduct a tea inspection. So, everything better be spotless by then. Griselda says, standing in front of the teens. Yes ma'am. The teens say. Good, now get a move on. You all have much to do. Griselda says, clapping her hands with the Winx to leave the office with their buckets and supplies before splitting up with most of them having paired up except for Naruto and going to the different parts of the campus to do their tasks. With Flora and Tenka. Flora and Tekna were paired up and were tasked with sweeping the main stairs in the main hallway. Turns out, due to her growing up in a futuristic realm and her family having robots to do all the cleaning, Tenka's never held a broom before, let alone use one. So, upon learning this, Flora offered to teach her how to use one. It's not hard to use a broom. Want me to show you how? Flora asks with the tech-savvy fairy shaking her head. Nah, I think I can figure out how to use these primitive implements. Tekna says. She reaches down to her bucket before dumping all of its content out to the floor and starts inspecting it. Are you sure? Flora asks, seeing just what her friend was doing right. Of course. Tekna says, right as she places the bucket onto her head. Are you really sure you don't want any help? Flora asks, struggling to check her giggle down upon seeing how silly Tenka looked right now. Flora, I can handle this situation with no difficulty. You don't have to worry. Tenka says with Flora backing off, waiting to see what she would do. Tekna grabs her broom and holds it upside down. She brushes her hand against the broom head and quickly figures out that is what is used in cleaning. She looks up and sees a dusty picture frame above her before lifting the broom up to it and begin cleaning it but clumsily as the frame was moving along. See? Nothing too difficult. Tenka says, unaware that the picture was starting to move out of place, which Flora notices. Yeah, I see. Flora says as she heads over to Tenka as the tech fairy continues her sweeping, up until the picture fell from its spot with Flora catching it. She looks at Tenka, who stares at the picture before blushing embarrassed. I may have done something wrong in my task. Tenka says with Flora smirking. Now would you like me to help you? Flora asks as Tenka takes the bucket off her head and shyly rubs her arm. Yes please. Tenka quietly says as Flora places the picture down before teaching her. With Bloom, Musa, and Stella. In a large classroom, Bloom and Musa were busy scrubbing the seats and steps. Bent down, Bloom was scrubbing away some dust and old pieces of gum, much to her disgust, but was thankful she was wearing a pair of cleaning gloves, as she seats up and bends her back from the discomfort. Man, I can't wait until we're done. Bloom says with Musa standing up, wiping the bend of sweat on her forehead as she agrees. Yeah, we'd be done with this a lot sooner if you know who would actually lend us a hand. Musa says. The two turn to the center of the room and see Stella sitting on a desk, busy looking at herself with her makeup mirror. Stella, I thought we agreed that you'd clean the floors. Bloom says, upset that Stella was not working. No, you two agreed. Stella says as she places the mirror into a makeup bag that was next to her before pulling out a nail file. She turns back to Bloom and Musa and sees they were giving her upset looks. Hey, you want me to break a nail? You don't actually have to use your hands. Use one of the mops. Musa shouts, getting angry. I'd get blisters. Stella argues. Then wear gloves like we are. Musa shouts. RBB's bad for my skin. Stella argues once more, that Musa was really getting to the point of hurting Stella real bad. Before she could, however, she was cut off. Alright, enough. Since you two really can't agree on this, you leave me no choice. Bloom says. She pulls out a bottle of floor cleaner and pours all its content into a bucket that was filled with water. Once the bottle was empty, Bloom tosses the bottle into a trash can and mixes the water and cleaner together. Hey, that's not fair. You shouldn't do Stella's work. How else will she learn that she needs to take responsibility? Musa shouts. Bloom just picks the bucket up and discreetly winks at her before walking over to Stella. Well, if she wants to do it. Then I won't stop her. Stella says, cocky about the fact she didn't have to clean, only for her to turn back at them and get drenched in water. She wipes her eyes from the water and sees Bloom holding the now half-empty bucket in her hands while Musa was laughing her butt off. What were you saying, Stella? Bloom asks, grinning as Musa still laughs as she walks over to them. Good open Bloom. Musa laughs, trying to calm down, not noticing that Bloom had turned her attention to her, and playfully narrows her eyes at her. Why so happy? Since I've got some for you too. Bloom yells, splashing Musa with the water. Soon, Musa and Stella got hold of their water bucket, and the three engaged in a brief water war up until they got exhausted and laid down on the floor or desk in Musa's case. Not too long after this, Flora and Tenka arrive, having finished their task to see how things were going, only of them to see that the whole floor was wet and bubbly while the others were soaked too. What happened here? Flora gasps, seeing how drenched everything was as the three slowly get up. A tough battle that took place here which just ended and I won by a landslide. Stella says, grinning while Bloom turns to her with a raised eyebrow. Liar, I totally won that fight. Bloom says with her own grin. Musa sits up from the desk and crosses her legs as she grins. Nah, I know for a fact that I won. Musa says. Flora and Tenka get upset and cross their arms. Great, what a wreck. Flora sighs, seeing just how bad the floor was. Now we'll never finish this part. Tekna says. I would agree with that. The girls jump a little when they heard someone speak behind them. They turn and see Griselda there, hands on her hips as she was tapping her foot on the wet floor, unfortunately. Oh, hello Miss Griselda. What brings you here? Bloom stammers as she and the other two get up from the floor/desk and stand present. Griselda approaches them while looking down to the floor before looking at the girls. I came here to inform you all that there will be a concert being held at the Magi Auditorium and all of the Alphea students and the staff will attend. Oh, that's great. I do love concerts. Musa says, feeling excited about the concert, but her excitement would soon fade after what Griselda has to say. Not. However, I'm afraid that you five will have to miss it due to you all not finishing cleaning yet. Naruto will also miss the concert as well due to his circumstances as well. Now get back to work. Griselda orders before leaving the girls. Oh man, I was really looking forward to that concert. Musa says, sad that she's gonna miss that concert. Same, anything just to get away from doing this. Stella says, feeling guilty and sad. Sad that she was gonna miss the concert and guilty that they were gonna miss it since it was her fault that the floor is wet. Well, no use in complaining now. Let's just get this place cleaned up and then go to the hallways. Tekna says. Bloom looks around and finally notices that they were lacking one person. Say, where is Naruto? I haven't seen or heard from him after we split up. Bloom asks. Oh, he said he'd clean the entire left side hallways by himself. Flora says, remembering his words. Really, is he sure he can do that on his own? Bloom asks with Flora nodding. Yeah. He said that he's handled something like this before. He said don't worry about him and said he'll meet up with us later. Flora says. Okay. Hope he's doing alright. Stella says, hoping that her fellow blonde was okay in his task. With Naruto. Naruto was doing fine, great actually. The reason being you might ask? Well. Whoa. Naruto yells as he zooms down the fortunately empty and quiet hallway where the floors were wet and soapy while he had scrub brushes tied to his shoes, using them as a pair of makeshift skates while having a mop in hand, using it as a steering stick while cleaning and drying the floor at same time. Man, this sure takes me back. Naruto yells, skating down the hallway while cleaning it with the mop and scrub brushes. It only took him just 10 minutes until he stopped skating and sees the hallway was completely dry and spotless, which he smiles to. Ha, works every time. Naruto says before spinning the mop like a bow staff and placing it into the bucket. He then tears the restraints to the scrub brushes off his shoes and places the brush into the bucket as he leaves the hallway to go and find where the girls were, but before he could leave the hall, the bell goes off and Naruto could hear the doors to the classroom begun to open, causing him to have his eyes open wide. A bunch of third-years fairies exit their classes and walk down the hallway, only to see it was clean and shiny while a bucket, mop, and other cleaning supplies were by the window side on the floor. Whoa! The place looks clean. I wonder who cleaned it. One of the third years asks her friends, who just shrugs their shoulder as they were walking. Don't know, I thought I heard someone though. Maybe it's one of the freshmen. Another one of the third years says. Speaking of which. I did hear that 5 of the freshmen snuck out yesterday with everyone else was sleeping and got caught just yesterday when they came back by Miss Faragonda and Miss Griselda. A third fairy says. Oh, wonder why they did that? The first one asks. Probably just to go to the city and see their boyfriends. You know how naive first years are when it comes to love. The second one says. Maybe, but I heard that two of them aren't really the girly types. One's a tomboy music head, the other's a geek, the best representation of the word since she speaks and acts like a robot. The third one says. Wow, now that's just pathetic. The second third year says with the third one nodding. You're telling me. I feel sorry for the poor guy who's gonna date her, that is if she'll ever get one. The third one says as she and the second one giggle while the first one was not amused. Alright, that's enough you guys. We should talk bad about our fellow underclassmen. That's not the way a future fairy should behave. We should go to the courtyard. We've got a bus to catch. The first third year says as she gives the other two a stern stare, causing them to flinch. Right, sorry. The two say. Now, come on. We've got a bus to catch. The first says. Right. The other two say as they leave the hallway. When the girls leave, they were totally unaware that Naruto was just above them, on the ceiling using his arms and legs to hold him in place as they pass by while being completely silent. Once he was sure that no one was in the hallway, he drops down to the floor and lets out a sigh. Man, that was close. Naruto thought, right before he started to frown as he heard the conversation of the three third-year students and knew who they were talking about while bad-mouthing Musa and Tenka. At least one of them was decent. The other two were really starting to piss me off. No one talks bad about my friends while I'm around. If they do, they'll have to deal with me. Naruto thought as he gathers his things and process to look for the girls. It didn't take him too long to find them as they were right-wing hallway of the campus, watching through the window. Hey girls. Naruto greets them as they turn to him. Oh, hi Naruto. The girls greet back. What ya doin'? Naruto asks, seeing them stare out the window. Just watching the other students and teachers leave. To where? Naruto asks as the girls explain to him where the others were. Oh that, yeah. There's always some boring concert there every year. I think you guys dodged a bullet from a snooze fest. Naruto says he's heard from the previous students years prior about how boring the concert actually is. But it would be better than cleaning. Tekna says. Yeah, there got to be something we can do that'll make this less boring. Musa says. Stella thinks about an idea until she thought of one. Hey, why don't we call over the Red Fountain specialists and ask them if they want to help us? Stella says. And get caught again and be grounded forever? I don't think so. Flora says. Oh, come on you guys. With their help, we'd be finished 10 times faster than on our own. Stella says. Actually, that's not a bad idea. We could use the extra help. Bloom says. But isn't that like cheating? Tenka asks with Bloom shaking her head. Nope, remember Griselda said we can't use magic or our powers in cleaning. But they never said flesh and BLD. Bloom says with the others thinking about her words and finding truth in them. She's right. Auntie never said we could find extra help. Man, you've got to love loopholes. Naruto says. Stella drops her things. Oh, course, and then we can have a party, just to ourselves. Yeah, no. Remember no one knows that I live/study here. I'm meant to be a secret to the outside world. Naruto says. But the specialists know you already. Remember from that field trip to Blackwater Swamp? Bloom says. No, they just know that I work in the city at a mechanic shop. Not me living here in secret. They'd get suspicious if they see me here and start asking questions. Naruto says, the girls did know. He was right, questions would be asked if the guys got suspicious. Then, Musa snaps her finger. Hey, what if we can say that we invited you to the part as well? As a show of thanks for helping us out with the troll. Musa says, Naruto thought about it for a bit to see if there were any problems. That could work. Okay, I'm in. I can make it look like I've arrived from the city, I know a way to do that. Naruto says, making the girls smile as Musa drops her things as well. Alright, party time. Musa yells with Stella going for her phone and starts dialing the specialists. Time, 1800 hours PM. Hours later. Stella was at the gate, waiting for the specialists to arrive. She had changed out of her usual outfit for something for the party. Her outfit was a pale white tank top with dark orange mid-length, capri style, trousers with pale orange frills on the end. For accessories, she wore a pink headband, a swirly orange and yellow bracelet, and a green belt with a yellow heart on it. Her shoes were dark green wedges with light green straps. Stella hears 4 engines coming from a distance and sees 4 Wind Rider hoverbikes speeding towards Althea. She knew who the drivers were. She opens the gate and let the bikes into the court as they round the circle before parking. You guys didn't waste any time in getting here. It's great to see you guys again. Stella says, heading over to them. The guys take off their helmets and smile at the Solarian princess, or just nod in Riven's case. Hey, you know us. When it comes to partying, the specialists take matters very serious. Sky says as he pats a dog he had with him on her head. Sky, Brandon, wore a white dress shirt with a red ascot. This was under a blue sweater vest paired with green plaid pants and brown dress shoes. Brandon's, Sky, outfit consisted of a pair of blue jeans, blue sneakers, and a blue t-shirt with green sleeves. Timmy wore an outfit that consisted of a loose light green mid-sleeved shirt, over it was a long-sleeve white shirt. He also wore light blue boot jeans and green and white sneakers. Riven wore a white muscle midriff shirt with maroon pants and matching sneakers. He also wears metallic gray armbands. Just before either of them could speak, a loud engine roared nearby, causing them to turn to the gate and see a much different hoverbike than theirs, one Stella and Riven instantly recognized. It parks next to the boys with the driver, kicking out the stand before turning to them. He then takes his helmet off. Sup guys? Naruto greets the boys, as he fixes his hair a bit. His outfit was just a blue open hoodie, a black and orange t-shirt with a fire emblem on the center of it, a pair of denim jeans, and his sneakers. He also wore his headband. Hey man. Good to see you again. Sky, Brandon, greets, feeling happy in seeing the blonde again as he goes over to him and holds his fist to him for a fist bump. Likewise. Naruto says, returning the fist bump. Hey, Naruto. Timmy greets, heading over to him. Hey. Timmy, good to see you again. Naruto says, as the two fist bump. Timmy turns to his bike and was awestruck by its design and how the engine looked. Wow, that is one incredible machine. Where did you get it? Timmy asks, marveling at the bike as Naruto just heartfully chuckles. Nah, I built her from the ground up, she was just scraps and metal when I found her. It took time, sweat, a lot of tears, and BLD, but it was worth building this beast. Naruto says, patting his bike. Feeling proud of it. Wow. Timmy says. Riven gets off his bike and looks at Naruto with an unimpressed expression. What are you doing here, Whiskers? Riven asks, making Naruto look at him with a raised eyebrow at the name Riven gave him. Oh, the girls invited me to the party. Why you got a problem? Naruto asks as the two go into a stare-off until Riven just turns from him. MH. Riven scoffs before walking towards the building, with his hands in his pockets. Naruto just shakes his head from the purplette's attitude. But. Naruto thought, seeing him leave. His thoughts were cut with Stella grabbed him. Alright, enough talk. Let's head inside and things started. Stella yells, pulling Naruto as she leads the guys into the main building where the others were waiting. Dining Hall Cloud Tower. At Cloud Tower's main dining hall, the students were busy having their dinner while chatting amongst each other, well most were. We can't let those girls get away with this. Stormy yells, slamming her hand onto the table Darcy and Icy were sitting on as they discussed their plans in getting revenge on the Winx. Turns out, thanks to Griffin telling them, the Tricks found out that the Winx broke into their room and took back the ring upon seeing it went missing, along with their notes. These girls are going to have to pay for this. Plus, that guy who's always with them. But how? Darcy asks with Icy, having taken a bite of her meal turns to them. Simple sisters. We can get back at the fairies by destroying their beloved school, Althea. While we figure out just who that boy is and figure out what he loves the most and destroy it as well. Icy says, not noticing that a few of the other students were hearing their conversation. Those fairies have got to learn to stay far from our turf. Icy says, darkly smirking. Up until one student who'd been listening to them speak had enough. Why do you hate them so much? Weren't you the ones who started this by going after them? And by going to their school as well? Fairies aren't that bad after all. This witch says. She was a pale girl with freckles, gray eyes, and short burgundy hair that has a long blue streak in it, with a few beads separating it from the rest of her hair. She wore a frayed white shirt with a pumpkin decal in the middle, a gray shirt underneath that shirt, and a black vest that covers both. Her black skirt had a gray layer on it and is held up by two belts, white and dark red respectively. She also wore dark red leggings underneath the skirt. Her black boots were knee-high with gray straps on them. She accessorizes with gray arm cuffs and a red gem necklace. Her name was Mirda, a first year of Cloud Tower and the Witch of Illusions. And just who was the one who uttered those words from their mouth? Icy asks, glaring down at the girl who slightly flinches as she tries to find the right words. All I meant to say was that maybe, we should all get along with one another. Mirda says, the Tricks looks down at her for a few moments until Stormy bursts out laughing. You're asking us to get along with fairies? What's next, you want us to marry the specialists? Stormy laughs as everyone else in the dining hall start to laugh at the red hair, causing tears to form in her eyes. Did you girls hear that? Mirda wants to be friends with the fairies. Oh, how naive of you. And you call yourself a witch. Stormy says, continuing to laugh with the others. Why didn't you learn to keep your mouth shut? Darcy asks, snapping her finger as she conjures a ball of magic goo which flies and sticks to Mirda's head, causing the poor girl to fall. Mirda's friend goes to her and tries to pry the goo off her face but found that to be difficult as it wasn't budging. Mirda soon found herself starting to suffocate while everyone else was still laughing at her at this. Eventually, someone had heard and seen enough. That's enough. A loud voice yells as everyone stops laughing and turns to the top balcony of the room and saw Griffin there, glaring at each and every one of them. She turns to Mirda and snaps her fingers, canceling Darcy's spell and freeing her as she coughs, trying to put air back into her lungs. What is the matter with you all? Can't you all not make a scene and attempt in killing one of your own for your own entrainment? Griffin asks, glaring at the students as they were silent. I see. Everyone finish your meal and head to your rooms. There will be a lockdown at curfew and that'll be no entrainment this evening. Griffin says before leaving the hall. Everyone groans at this while glaring down at Mirda as if it was her fault they were on lockdown. Icy however was not fazed by this as she saw this as an opportunity. Let's do it tonight. I know for a fact that the fairies are out in Magic City, attending that concert. Meaning there'll be no one to stop us. Icy says, grinning to her sisters in all but BLD. Right/yeah. Darcy and Stormy say as they leave the hall and go to prepare. Winx dorm Althea. It took them a while but the Winx with the help of the specialists were finally able to finish cleaning all of Althea. And with their task done, that meant one thing for them. Party. And in Winx's dorm, the teens were doing just that, busy dancing with one another or drinking some soda the guys brought to the party and talking. It went pretty well, huh? Boom asked Stella as the two danced together. Bloom's party outfit was a white t-shirt with blue-green short sleeves and a blue miniskirt. She wore white sneakers with blue-green leg warmers going up to just under her knees. Yep, and we can still have fun too. Stella says. She turns to the other side of the room and sees Flora dance with Brandon. Sky, the nature fairy's outfit was a spring green sleeveless top with pink roses and dark green trimming, dark green pants and pink sandals with a light green sarong/skirt on her pants. She then turns and sees Timmy and Tenka sitting on the sofa, talking, or Timmy was the one speaking with Tekna listening. Her outfit consisted of a magenta and lime green jacket with a magenta mini skirt with a mixture of pink and blue for her shoes. Stella then turns and sees Musa attempting in getting the still ribbon to dance, but he wasn't budging one. Her outfit was a light blue, dark blue, and pink striped midriff tube top, paired with a light blue sweat skirt that was trimmed in pink with a dark blue M on the lower left corner. Her arms were covered with a pair of light blue detached sleeves. Her footwear was a pair of silver, dark blue, and light blue sneakers and a pair of pink socks. Stella turns once more and sees Naruto talking to Sky, Brandon, by the stereos about something she couldn't make out. She smirks and turns back to Bloom. "So, what's with you and Naruto?" Stella asks, causing Bloom to stumble on her feet a bit before correcting herself from falling and blushes. What are you talking about, Stella?" Bloom stutters, shyly looking away from the Solarian princess. "Oh, don't pretend you don't know Bloom. I've seen how you act differently when he gives you all his attention. And I saw how you blushed when he patted your head yesterday and how you reacted when he took his hand off you." Stella says. "I know, it's just he's my friend and I don't think I can go and ask him out. I don't want to ruin what we have now." Bloom says. "Well, if you're not going for him, then I will." Stella admits, causing Bloom to turn to her with wide eyes. What?" Bloom stammers. "What? Who'd not want that hunk of a man? The guy is literally a gentleman. Sure, he's denser than the Avenge guy, but that's only because of his amnesia and he could be a once-in-a-lifetime type of guy. You don't get those nowadays. And I feel that I'm not the only one. So, if I were you, I'd go after him and snatch him before it's too late." Stella exclaims as she moves towards Sky and sees if he wants to dance. Bloom looks at Naruto and sees him drinking his soda before noticing she was staring at him. He smiles and waves to her as she blushes but shyly returns the smile and wave before realizing Stella was telling the truth. Yeah. Bloom thought, now knowing Stella was telling some truth. Outside the courtyard, purple lighting struck the ground and the tricks appear in the smoke in their witch outfits. They look around and saw the lights were off, telling them that no one was there, but Darcy spotted 5 hoverbikes parked next to each other by the entrance to the building. "Hey, didn't you say that the school was supposed to be empty?" Darcy asks, causing the other two to see the bikes, which confused them. Soon, however, the trio starts to hear something near them. They look around from where the noise was coming from as they spot a balcony lit. They levitate up to it but remain hidden to see what was going on. Upon getting a closer look, the tricks see the Winx and the specialists in the dorm, partying their minds off. "The Winx, what are they doing here?" Icy asks, not happy in seeing their enemies here. Stormy looks around and spots someone in the dorm. "Hey, look who it is," Stormy says, pointing. The others follow to where she was pointing and see Naruto drinking his soda while looking at Musa dance. "Guess we don't have to look for him. Make our job much easier," Darcy says. However, Riven was walking towards the balcony, causing the tricks to panic and teleport away. They reappear behind the fountain and watch Riven drink away alone. "That was close," Icy says. "Great, just what we needed, the fairies, their boy toy, and a bunch of knights in diapers," Darcy says, watching Riven finish his drink before he went back into the dorm. "There are too many people here. We have to go back to Cloud Tower before we get spotted," Stormy says. Just when she and Darcy were about to teleport, Icy stops them. No sister, I have this feeling. I'm feeling something strong, powerful, and dense. Icy says, narrowing her eyes before turning back to the other. Quick, let's conjure up the vacuums. Icy says, causing Stormy to raise an eyebrow. The vacuums, why? They're only meant to find and store the most powerful, mystical energy sources within Magix. I feel like the energy we're looking for is somewhere in the school. It could be hidden somewhere within something. Icy says. Of course, it wasn't in the ring of Solaris despite belonging to one of the fairies. Stormy says, remember the botch they experience in not finding the energy they were looking for in the ring prior to the Winx reclaiming it. Yeah, in fact the royal family belongs to the Order of Fairies. Maybe they did store the energy somewhere else in the school. Great idea, Icy. Darcy says. What can I say? My ideas are always great. Icy says. The three stood in a triangle as they start to conjure their magic together and summon the vacuums. The vacuums were bottle-shaped crystals with a metal-like appearance. The designs and colors were varied. But in general, the crystals often divided into 2 or 3 parts. The first part acted like the cap of the bottle. The rest acted like the body of the bottle. There were thin parts that act like connectors connecting the parts of the bottle. There was also a swirl design that wraps around the crystal. The vacuums float above the tricks before linking together by a magic bond as they float in a direction. The vacuums will take us to the source. Icy says as they start to follow the vacuums. But the fairies and their friends? Stormy asks. The fairies won't be a problem. Besides, I have another idea that will put them out of commission. For good. Icy says the vacuums phase through a wall as the tricks follow it with Icy shooting a blast of dark magic at the wall, allowing them to phase through it with ease. Unaware something was following them along. Once they phase through the wall, they stop in the center of the main hall with the vacuums floating above them. Alright, this is the perfect place for the plan. Are you ready, sisters? Icy asks, with Stormy and Darcy nodding. They join hands and close their eyes as they start their chant in summoning the thing to stop the Winx. Upon finishing the chant, the witches summon a blue-furred, 4-armed minotaur that had yellow eyes, a red beard, and a red ponytail that is tied. It wore brown bracelets. The fur on its legs is brown. Sisters, I present to the WHP. Icy says as the WHP roars and starts charging at some of the building's walls and pillars, destroying them on impact as the tricks smirk before continuing on their search of the mysterious power sources. Back at the Winx dorm. Moments before the summoning. The party was still going but they knew that it had to end soon before the rest of the other students returned from the concert. Stella was talking to Sky, Brandon, before rumbling started to happen. Was that your stomach grumbling? Wanna have a bite of this? Stella asks, presenting a burger to the prince, but he declined it. Nah, I'm good. But I'm thirsty. Sky says. Stella starts to pour him a drink before he was shaking, causing some of the drink to spill. Your Highness, are you nervous? Stella asks. No, I'm not. It's the ground. The school's shaking. Sky says as they all felt the entire school shake momentarily before stopping. What the hell was that? Naruto asks. An earthquake? Bloom asks, right before the rumbling and shaking resumed. Flora walks over to the door and hears the rumbling coming from there. That sounded like it came inside. Flora says, but the rumbling sound moved outside. No. That came from outside. Tekna says. The teens go to the balcony to see just what was going on. Think someone left their TV on too loud? Stella asks with the rumbling stopped. Maybe. Brandon, Sky, says, shrugging, right before the rumbling resumes and they see something getting tossed out the high-level window on the other side of the school and shatter onto the ground on impact. Or maybe not. Stella says, seeing what just happened as the girls shiver in fear. Riven and Naruto whistle and the Wind Riders and Akira turn on, floating up to the balcony and the specialists hopping onto them before flying towards the other side to investigate. The girls follow and meet with the boys as they see a massive hole in the wall. What kind of creature could do this kind of damage? Timmy asks, seeing the heavy damage on the wall and room. Tekna walks over to one of the damaged walls and sees patches of blue fur were on it with claw marks. A big, heavy creature. Tenka says, rubbing her fingers along claw marks. Oh good. I never would have guessed. Riven says with Tenka turning to him. It's 2.5 meters tall and weighs close to a ton. Its fur is blue and bristly, with multiple clawed limbs, and it has a musky odor to it. Now, is that better, Riven? Tenka asks, staring at the purplettle with a stern glance. Stella starts to laugh at how Riven was quickly schooled while Naruto let out a whistle. DMN Tenka. That's some skill to know what monster did this from just seeing some fur and claw marks. Naruto says, impressed. What can I say? I like to analyze things in great detail. Tekna says, smiling at the blonde. However, this moment was interrupted by another earthquake and it felt like it was close. Okay, that was it. Brandon says, turning to another hole in the wall. Wait, are we waiting for? Let's go. Sky says with the specialists taking out their fantablades and crossbow and activating them. Wait for us. We want to help too. Bloom says. Okay then. Come on. Brandon says while activating his shield as he, Sky, and Timmy head into the hole. The girls and Naruto were about to go with them when Riven stops them with his fantablade. Stay where you are. This isn't a job of you or the mechanic. Let the big boys handle this. Riven says, seeing Musa and Naruto glaring at him, but he didn't care as he leaves to join the others. Oh, says who? Come on you guys. Musa says with her friends following her back to their dorm so they could at least find something to use against this monster. What are we going to do? We don't have our powers. Flora says, remaining every one of their problems. We can try and think of something. If we can at least cut this rune wrap on my arm, I can get my sword and maybe fight that thing. Naruto says. But, you'll get electrocuted, remember? We can try. Naruto says as they continue to run down the hallway. Unaware that something was following them and the Trix was following that thing. With the specialists. The specialist walks down the path of destruction until they reach a dark classroom. They ready their weapons, making sure to be ready if this monster was still in it. Why don't you give us some light, Timmy? Sky asks as Timmy nods. He lifts his crossbow and fires a solar flare, lighting the room up. They see that everything in the room was heavily damaged or destroyed, but they hear banging above them. They look up and see a giant hole in the ceiling as the banging noise was coming from it, but it was fading, showing that the monster was moving away from them. It went up there. Brandon yells as they look for a way to follow it. Back with the Winx. The Winx climb up a fleet of stairs with them not hearing or feeling for a while. Nothing. Bloom says as they reach the floor of their dorm. Maybe it went away. Flora suggests. Or maybe the guys stopped it. Musa says. No, I don't think that's the case. Maybe it moved else in school. Naruto says. Hopeful far away from us. Stella says. They continue to traverse down the hall until Musa hits something that was in front of her. Weird, I don't remember a wall being here. Musa says before slowly stopping as she sees the WHP standing in front of them with its back turned. It turns to them and lets out a roar which makes its saliva fly out of its mouth and land on some of them, mainly Stella, much to her disgust and cringe. Oh, this is so gross. Stella yells as she growls at the Minotaur with it growling back. She was so ready in using her powers and blasting this beast into next week, only for her to remember that her powers were sealed away, making her weak against it. She slowly backs away from it, hoping it won't attack, but her hope vanishes when the WHP roars again as the Winx run away with the WHP giving chase. They run down halls, and climb upstairs with it still following them, and were slowly catching up. Flora trips as they reach another hallway, but Stella quickly helps her up and continues running. They enter another hallway and run down it as the WHP enters it close behind. It stomps onto the ground, forming cracks into the floor as the girls and Naruto lose their balance. The WHP charges at them before jumping in the air and sends a punch to Bloom, who dodges and rolls out of the way at the last second, causing the WHP to punch the floor instead. Dust fall into the area as it scans for them through the smokescreen until it found one for its targets right next to it, with her being trapped by the wall behind her, Tecna. It roars as it charges at her. Seeing this, Tecna panics a bit before she instinctively jumps over the beast as it crashes into the wall head first, with her landing safely behind it with the WHP's horns getting stuck into the wall. The WHP was trying to get itself out of the wall as Stella walks over to it and cringes at its otter. Look at it. It's stuck, struggling, and sweating. Man, does it stink. Stella says. Somehow the WHP heard and understood her as it got angrier, and with its new anger, breaks free from the wall. Great Stella. Now it's even angrier. Musa says as Stella runs from it. The beast chases after her and was about to hit her with a swat from Naruto appears in front of it and grabs it by its horns and tries to hold it down, showing very impressive strength in doing so. He grits his teeth and digs his feet into the ground as he starts to feel that the beast was starting to overpower him. Girls, run! Get out of here! Naruto shouts before the WHP finally overpowers him and lifts him up in the air with its horns. When Naruto was in the air, the WHP grabs him by his leg and starts spinning him around a bit before slamming Naruto onto the ground back first, causing the blonde to scream in utter pain. The Minotaur lifts Naruto up again before slamming him back into the ground, face first this time, before it lifts him back up and slams him back into the ground, right before tossing him back to the entrance of the hallway. Naruto! The girls scream, all in utter shock at seeing how violently and brutally their friend got beaten. The WHP turns to them and huffs out air before charging at them once more. The girls run from it again, with Musa being the one closest to it. Seeing that she was about to get caught, Musa runs up a wall and flips off it, over it before she places her hands on its head and vaults off it. The beast stops when Musa vaults off it, and just when she was about to land behind it, it turns around and strikes her with a punch onto her chest, sending her back all the way back when Naruto flew too. Musa! The girls yell, upon seeing Musa get hit. The WHP turned to them as they froze, not knowing what to do. It was upon them and raises its fist up, about to slam it down on the girls. When? Hey, but... An angry, demonic voice spoke in the dark, stopping the WHP from hitting the other girls. Footsteps were heard coming towards them from the entrance to the hall, but it was dark. Soon the footsteps grew louder with each other's steps as Naruto walks out of the dark, holding Musa, who was knocked out from the punch as a large bruise was forming on her abdomen while a bit of blood was flowing from the corner of her mouth. The other girls see him and gasp at seeing he was injured with cuts on his head where blood was flowing down, and from the corner of his mouth, parts of his body and his clothes were torn in some areas. The girls see his eyes and flinch as his irises were not his usual deep blue color. No, this time, they were ruby red with the pupils slit, mimicking that for a feline, or a fox. His hair was spikier and ridged by his bangs as his whisker birthmarks looked more wild and animalistic, with his canine teeth sharpened and lengthened size, making them into fangs. Naruto gently places Musa against a wall and stalks her cheek as he looked sad upon seeing her injuries and the blood from her mouth. I'm sorry that this happened to you. But I swear, I'll get back at this bstrd for you. That I can promise you. Naruto says to her. He stands up to slowly turn his head to the WHP as it roars and charges at him. However, just before it could even take 3 steps, Naruto's sudden was right in front of it, and before it could react, Naruto punches it, sending flying through the walls until it flew out of the building and to the courtyard, with Naruto following it. The girls rush over to Musa and check over her. Musa, Musa. Speak to me. Bloom says, holding Musa, but she wasn't responding. She's out cold. The hit must have done heavy damage to her internal organs and gave her a mild concussion as well. Tekna says, knowing that a hit from a minotaur would do serious damage. Girls. The girls turn and see the specialists rushing toward them. What happened? Brandon asks, seeing the damage on the floor and walls. His attention quickly shifts to seeing the state Musa was in. What happened to Musa? The monster, it's a minotaur and it beat Naruto up badly and hurt Musa bad. She's knocked out. Stella explains. Where's Naruto? Timmy asks, not seeing the blonde in question. He's fighting the monster outside. Flora says, hearing booms from outside and feeling them shake the building. How? Didn't you just say he got beat up bad? How's he fighting it if he's hurt? Sky asks. He is hurt, but something happened to him. He's different. He's acting more different than he usually does. Bloom says. Just then, a loud boom went off as it shook the school more violently than before. The Winx and specialists head towards the holes with Riven carrying Musa on his back. They reach the final hole that led to outside and look down to the courtyard as it now looked like a war zone, filled with a large dust cloud, cracks, craters, and broken pieces of the fountain. A hit was heard connecting to flesh as the WHP flew out of the dust cloud, bouncing off the ground until hitting a wall, causing it to stop. Naruto steps out of the dust cloud, looking relatively fine than how he was moments again. His injured had healed up. The WHP slowly stood up from its crater in the wall as it was not looking too hot itself compared to its opponent. It had deep lacerations on its skin, black bruises, one of its horns was broken and missing, 2 of its 4 arms were broken beyond repair, and it was losing a large amount of BLD thanks to it flowing out of the lacerations. It roars as it picks up parts of the wall it hit and throws them at Naruto, who sneers before charging at it on all 4. Naruto effortlessly evades the parts by sidestepping and jumping over them as he reaches the injured minotaur. He jumps and goes for a heel kick, but the WHP barely dodges as it attempts to hit Naruto with a punch which hit him, but the punch phases through Naruto before he fades away. Suddenly Naruto appears before the beast and grabs its 2 remain functioning arms as he pulls them from behind the minotaur before Shifty and quickly dislocates them, causing the beast to roar in utter agony. He releases the beast as it turns to him, attempting to take a swing at him with its useless arms, but Naruto delivers a fast chin kick, causing spit, teeth, and BLD to fly out of the WHP's mouth before the blonde jumps in the air, spins and delivers a heavy kick onto the side of its head, breaking its last horn before sending flying across the courtyard until hitting the wall by the gate. Naruto walks towards it, picking up a sharp rod that was from the fountain along the way. As he reaches the downed minotaur, he could see it was still alive and conscious as he uses the rod to lift WHP's head to him before placing it onto its neck, causing BLD to come at a bit. Naruto moves the rod from its neck before lifting it up above him, ready to send it through its throat, and was about to when. Naruto, stop. Don't do it. He stops upon hearing Bloom shout at him. He turns and looks up to see his friends were looking at him with nervous, terrified looking. Please, don't do this, Naruto. This isn't you. Bloom asks Naruto, afraid on what he was about to do. Why should I not? This thing hurt Musa, nearly killed her. It's destroyed the school. I'm just returning the favor and actually doing it right. Naruto says. He lifts the rod up again and was about to kill the beast, but the others try and convince him not to. Stop. Just please stop. Tenka yells at him. You won. You beat it, okay? You've done enough. Just please. Stella says. We don't like seeing you like this. Please Naruto, come back to your senses. Please, come back to us. Flora begs him as tears were in her eyes, feeling all the anger and negativity pour out of him. Please. Don't do it. Bloom whispers, but he could hear it loud and clear. Naruto was trembling, struggling in making a decision. On one hand, he really didn't want to kill the Minotaur, but on the other, stronger hand, he really wanted to make the beast suffer for what it did to his home, to his friends, to Musa. Naruto, don't do this. Timmy says, trying to break through to him. Yeah man, you got back at it for hurting you. Sky says. You've done enough dude. More than any of us could. We can take over from here and bring it to the right people. Justice. Brandon says. Don't do this Whiskers. It's not worth it man. Trust us, it'd better to not have killed than killed. Riven says, surprisingly joining in to stop Naruto. The blonde was really at a crossroad at this point, he wanted revenge on the WHP but knew he couldn't kill it. And Naruto. His eyes wide as he hears a whisper, he turns to Riven's back and sees Musa was awake, barely as she looking at him with concern on her face. Don't do it, you did your promise, you won, you can stop now. Musa barely whispers out, before falling back to unconsciousness. Naruto's eyes remain wide as he looks down at his hands and sees they were bloody, not from his BLD but from the Minotaur. He then looks around and sees the destruction that was made on the courtyard and onto the school before seeing the rod in his hand. He looks back to the Minotaur and sees it had finally passed out from all the pain and injuries he gave it. He drops the rod to the floor as he looks up to the sky and falls to his knees, unaware that his irises and pupils shift back to their normal color and shape with his hair and whisker marks returning back normal. The rest go to the courtyard and rush to Naruto and see him just stare at the sky. Bloom caustically approaches him, worry if he was still anger. Naruto. Bloom calls to him, making him look from the night sky at her. Hey, Bloom. Naruto whisper. Are you alright? Bloom asks, as Naruto slowly nods. Yeah, I'm fine. Tired, but fine. Naruto says as Bloom knew he was back to normal. She goes to him, bends down, and hugs him with him slowly and hesitantly returning it. The others let out a sigh, seeing that Naruto had calmed down and was fine. They soon look around the school and see the state it was now in, the courtyard, filled with cracks and craters, the walls to the building and around the school, broken or falling apart, the windows, shattered, and the fountain, destroyed beyond recognition. Man, what a mess. Brandon says. Yeah, you're telling me. We really weren't expecting a Minotaur to trash the party, much less the school. Sky says. But what I want to know is how did this guy just get into the school without problem? Tekna says with everyone, minus Musa, to think the same question. Naruto then senses 3 familiar signatures nearby and that causes him to growl. The tricks, they're here. Naruto growls, which everyone heard. Wait, the tricks are here. Stella asks with Naruto nodding. Yeah. I can sense them, Naruto says, getting angry at these witches for doing this. Where? Bloom asks, Naruto focuses and soon finds them, considering that there weren't many magic signatures in the area. Faragonda's office. Naruto says. Why would they be there? Flora asks. I don't know and I don't like the idea of that. We have to get there, now. Bloom says as they head to the office when Riven going to the nurse's office to drop Musa off there and protect her in case a fight broke out. In Faragonda's office. Are you sure this is where the power source is? Stormy asks. She and the other enter the headmistress' office as the vacuum led them to it. According to the vacuum, this is where the power of the dragon is supposed to be. Icy says, seeing the vacuum had stopped dead center in the room. I doubt that, I mean I felt a massive surge in negative force not far from here in the school. It was much higher than the Prince of Darkness. And that just made me shiver in power and lust, but it soon vanished before I could pinpoint the source of that force. I have to feel that again. Darcy says, quivering at the tingling sensation she felt earlier. Enough, Darcy. Icy says, making her friend stop in her dream. Well, I guess we just have to trash the room until we find it. Icy says, but before they could do a thing. I don't think so, Icy. A voice spoke, startling the three as the lights in the room turned on and the trick seized the Winx and the specialists, surrounding them as they looked angry. What are you doing here? Icy asks. No, what are you doing here? Bloom shoots back, glaring at them. That is what I would love to know as well. Miss Fargonda. How did you get back so quick? Bloom asks. I felt something wrong had happened and rushed back here. After all, this is my office and my school, correction, mostly my school due to the damage causing it to fall apart. Now tell me, what is happening here? Farragonda asks, glaring at them all as Naruto sighs and looks at her. It's a long story. Naruto says, stepping toward her. The courtyard, Althea. Several minutes later. Outside in the courtyard, the Winx, specialists, and the tricks were there with Farragonda and Griselda. Naruto took time in explaining what had happened and why did the school look like a tornado blew by here. The two professors were furious by what the tricks had and were horrified in learning about what happened to him and Musa when a WHP had attacked them. The WHP was thankfully still alive despite being in critical condition thanks to the injuries Naruto dealt to it, and it was restrained in a prison bubble by the specialists. Tethered to their wind riders for transport back to Red Fountain for questioning and eventually imprisonment. I hope you three know that I will contact Head Witchess Griffin about what transpired tonight. Your actions this evening have caused damage to Althea and caused harm to two people. One of whom is one of my students. Farragonda says, talking to the tricks who just had the audacity to cross their arms and have their eyes shut as they listened to Farragonda. I hope you all will be punished accordingly tomorrow when she receives my formal complaint. Now, goodbye girls. Farragonda says as she snaps her fingers and makes the tricks vanish in a flash of light, away from Althea. The others watched as the tricks had vanished and let out a sigh of relief, happy to see them. What a night. Stella says as Bloom nods with her. Yeah, you're telling me. Bloom says, she turns to Brandon as he starts his bike, thanks for your help guys. We really appreciate it. Hey, it was no problem. This is a night I won't soon forget. Brandon says, putting on his helmet. You're telling me. Sky says, glancing at Naruto who was by Timmy and Tenka as he looked out of it. A memorable party guys. Timmy says, awkwardly chuckling. Yeah. Tekna says. Sure was. It was good seeing you, Tim. Hope we can hang out again soon. Naruto says, strangely calm and collected but his tone sounded flat. Sure. We must. Timmy says. Nice party girls. Really liked the action. The next time you have one, just remain to not invite me. K. Riven says, causing the girls to gasp at his rudeness while Naruto glared at him. The four soon fly away into the air with their prisoner. Griselda, remain me to send a formal letter of thanks to Headmaster Saladin for the help his students gave us. Farragonda says as she and her assistant approach them. Most certainly ma'am, but first. Griselda says before turning to the Winx, you five, come to the main office. We have much to discuss. But, what about Musa? Bloom asks. I will go and check up on her to see just how her injuries are. Do not worry. Griselda says as everyone else went to Farragonda's office. Once they were there, Farragonda was by her desk while the girls and Naruto were in front of her. Now, I've looked at the situation as a whole. And as such, I will not reprimand you all for this incident. Farragonda says, making the girls sigh of relief. This evening's event has shown me that in situations such as this, you have to learn to think shapely, handle situations intelligently and think outside the box without the use of your magical powers. You all must learn not to rely on your powers too much, as there will be moments where they will fail or not work. Understand? Faragonda asks, with the teens nodding. Yes, ma'am. The teens say, minus Naruto, who has been quiet since arriving at the office. Good, now. I will give you back your powers. I believe you all be punished all enough. Faragonda says. She snaps her fingers and 4 small ball of lights shoot into the girls, granting them their powers back. The runes on the cloth around Naruto's arm flash a bit before the cloth unwraps itself off him and falls to the ground with his rune tattoo glowing, indicating it was working again. The girls were relieved in feeling their magic flow once again. Moments later, knocking was heard from the door. Enter. Faragonda says with the door opening, and enters Nurse Ophelia with a clipboard in hand. Ah, Nurse Ophelia. Have you done treating Miss Musa? Faragonda asks with the nurse nodding. Yes. I'm done running the tests, and the treatments on Miss Musa and found her injured are not life-threatening. She has some mild internal bleeding, and the muscles around her ribs are heavily bruised, with 3 of her ribs cracked and 1 completely broken. She does have difficulty breathing and she has coughed up blood. Fortunately, her injuries can be healed and cured in 2 weeks with magic, but I advise that she rest her body and not use her magic for those weeks to avoid straining herself and her magical reserves. Nurse Ophelia says as the girls and Faragonda were shocked at hearing Musa's injuries. Naruto grits his teeth while clenching his fists to the point where his knuckles started to turn white with blood dripping down from his palms. I see. Keep monitoring her in case. I will unlock her magic when she is cleared. Faragonda says with Nurse Ophelia nodding before she left the office. The headmistress turns. You girls should go to your dorms and rest. Naruto, can you stay here? Faragonda says. The girls look at each other, then turn to Naruto, who was still clenching his fists with his bangs shadowing his eyes. The girls slowly start to leave the office while taking glances at the blonde before they all left the room. It was only Faragonda and Naruto left with the head fairy turning to him. Naruto? Naruto, are you okay? Faragonda asks, but the blonde doesn't respond to her, he was still clenching his fists. Naruto. Faragonda calls to him, and that brought him out of his thought as he looks at her, with his bangs still shadowing his eyes. Why yeah, I'm fine. Naruto says, voice still calm but flat from his usual tone, which Faragonda notices. Are you sure? The girls told me that you were hurt by the Minotaur. Is everything alright? Faragonda asks, remaining Naruto for it and Musa's state. He uncovers his bangs as he looks at her with a glare, as his eyes were slitted, but still blue, which takes Faragonda back a bit. I'm fine, grandmother. Naruto says. Faragonda was taken further back by how calm he was and what he said. He's never called me grandmother, something's wrong. Faragonda thought. She decides to think about this another time, as she knew Naruto wasn't in the mood to talk. Alright. You can go now. I'll call Hank and tell him you won't come in for a few days to rest up. Faragonda says. Naruto just nods before he went to the bookcase and goes past it to the tunnels. Faragonda was alone in the office before she sighs and turns to her window and looks down to the courtyard, seeing the staff was busy repairing it before the other students return. What's going on with you, Naruto? Is it because your friend got hurt, or is this something else? Faragonda asks to herself. Naruto's room. Naruto was lying in his bed, looking at the ceiling as the images of Musa and her injuries appear in his mind. He had failed her, he failed to protect her and in turn, failed to do his duty to protect his precious people. He starts to cry with him blaming himself for everything that happened. Unaware to him, something deep within him was watching everything and smirks at seeing Naruto crying. Soon, little ninja. Soon, you will break and I will be free of my prison and take over this world for myself. Soon. A dark, sinister voice thought as Naruto cries himself to sleep. Althea. Morning. It has been just a little over 2 weeks since the night of the party and the Minotaur attack, and the damage that the school sustained from both the summoned beast and Naruto when they battled had been cleared away and repaired. The students who were not there when this occurred couldn't see something had happened and were blissfully unaware of the attack. However, things over with our group of fairies and humans were not exactly as grand as they were before. And you're about to see why. Winx dorm. Althea. Inside Bloom's shared dorm room, the Earth Fairy was in her bed, sleeping as she was currently tossing and turning in her sleep, indicating that whatever she was dreaming about was strong and intense. Bloom's mindscape. Bloom was standing in the middle of a dark void as she was hearing a voice calling out to her, one that sounded unknown, yet it felt strangely familiar to her. Bloom, Bloom. The voice says, calling out to Bloom. Who's calling me? Who's there? Bloom asks. She looks around the space in search of the voice but saw nothing. It's me, Bloom. Do you remember me? Do you remember my voice? The voice asks. Bloom thought on it a bit before she realizes who this voice was. It's you. You're the one who helped me out of Cloud Tower. Bloom says. Yes, Bloom. Come to me. The voice says. Bloom looks around but still sees nothing but darkness. But where? I can't see anything. Bloom says. Come. Come to me, Bloom. The voice says. Bloom starts aimlessly walking around the space in hopes of at least bumping into this person. Where are you? Bloom asks. Just then she feels something brush past her hand, causing her to stop. She turns around and sees that someone was standing behind her. And this person was a giant. Bloom had to look up to see just who this person was, and her eyes widen at the sight of this person. It was a woman who had fair skin, long pale blonde hair, and amber eyes. Her hair was styled in 2 pigtails that barely reached her shoulders, curling at the ends, while the rest of her hair fell to her shoulder blades. She wore a form-fitting, flowing, golden yellow dress with a plunging neckline. Around the waist was a thin pale yellow ribbon with 3 trailing ribbons with red oval-shaped designs at the ends. There were amber-orange rings around her biceps and wrists that each had pale yellow flowing silks attached to them. Along with her signature orange mask, she wore a golden yellow crown with a red jewel in the center at the top, and a pale yellow headpiece resembling angel wings. I am here, this woman says, holding her arms out as light began to radiate from her. The light she radiated was too intense for Bloom, causing her to close her eyes and block the light with her hands. I'm waiting for you, Bloom. Come to me and remember. The woman says, holding her hand out to Bloom, who was utterly bewildered at the situation. Remember what? Who are you? Remember what? Bloom asks. Instead of the woman answering her, the space they stood in began to brighten up, causing the woman to fade away and Bloom to close her eyes once more as the light consumed her. End dreamscape. Remember. What must I remember? Bloom mumbles, still in her sleep. Something began to shake her, causing her to stir properly and open her eyes and shut them. Upon having the bright sun hitting them, she opens them again and blinks as her eyes adjust to the light and as a familiar face staring at her. For one, you shouldn't sleep in all day. Especially since there are no classes today because it's a holiday. The familiar face says, giggles as Bloom lets out a yawn and smiles at them. Oh, hi Flora. Bloom greets her roommate, who smiles back at her. Morning Bloom. You were talking in your sleep and you were saying, you have to remember. What were you dreaming about? Flora asks, leaving Bloom's bedside and heads to her bed as the red hair starts getting out of bed and walks over to her while picking up Kiko along the way. I don't know actually. It was a really weird dream and it felt real. I wonder why. Bloom asks herself. The dream felt too real to her and she felt that this was a sign, but for what? She then notices an open briefcase filled with clothes on Flora's bed. Hey, why are you picking? Oh, I'm going back home. Flora says as she fills the briefcase with the last items and closes it. Why? Bloom asks. Today is the day of the rose. It's a special day here in Magix. And thanks to that, there aren't going to class today or tomorrow since everyone's heading back to their home realms and kingdoms. Flora says, holding the briefcase and processes to walk out of their shared room, with Bloom following. As they leave, Bloom sees Tekna out in the lounge area with her own briefcase, indicating that she was leaving too. The day of the rose? What's that? Bloom asks. Tekna finishes her packing and turns to the Earth Fairy. Knowing that she still hasn't been around in Magix to know all the customs and holidays. The Day of the Rose is a special day in Magix where everyone celebrates their mother and show their appreciation toward her. Don't you have that on Earth? Tekna asks. Bloom immediately knew what she was talking about from the explanation. Oh, we do, but we call that Mother's Day. Plus, it already passed months ago. Bloom says. Are you going home, Bloom? Flora asks. Bloom took a moment to think about it. She thought it would be a hassle to go back home now since it would be right around the time that school was still going on and she really didn't want to see anyone from her old school, plus she wanted to learn more about this holiday. She turns to Flora and shakes her head. No, I don't think so. Bloom says. Well, you'll keep us company. The trio turns and see Stella and Musa step out of their dorm room. Yeah, we've got nothing here to do. Musa says. She had a roll of bandages wrapped around her abdomen. She was still in the recovery stage from the injury she sustained that night, but she was recovering. Great, we can find something to do. Bloom says, smiling at the two. She then thought of something that causes her to lose the smile and gain a concerned expression and turn to them. Hey, have you girls heard anything from Naruto? Bloom asks as each of the girls just shake their heads no. Ever since that night, they haven't seen nor heard from the blonde boy as he just disappeared. They even went to Griselda and Faragonda about this as they were worried about him, but all they gave them was that he was still in the school and was okay, but he wasn't himself and they didn't know what to do either since he was locking himself in his room. No, we haven't. I'm really getting worried about him. Flora says, having a worried expression. Yeah, after what he did to the mini-tour, I'm worried about his mental health. That event and the rage episode he got into could have long-lasting effects on his psyche and could lead him to depression, minor or major, and that's not good for someone who has amnesia as it could lead him to deadly thoughts and decisions. Tekna says, the girls were getting worried now. If Naruto was really having mental issues, did that night really push him over the edge? Musa looks at everyone's faces and sees the concern, worried and scared expressions upon hearing Tekna's words and had an idea of what they were thinking. This sets her off as she clutches her hands and grits her teeth. This did not want she wanted to happen to her friend and she was going to stop this. Okay, this isn't the time to think that, we can still fix this and help him through this. We all promised that we'll help bring Naruto to get his memories back and I'm DMN sure we still can. That night was a hiccup in the road and it's caused problems, but we can get through them. Naruto's a scared kid and he needs help and we're the only ones who can really help him. I'm not going to let him down, cause he hasn't let us down. I'm going to help him, cause that's what friends do. Musa says, gaining a fierce, yet determined expression. To her, she owed Naruto her life and she wanted to repay him, and if this was it, she'd gladly do it, even if it would take her years to do. He deserved to know who he really was at least. The girls look at Musa as her words stuck to them. She was serious about this, and that she was right. This incident did cause some issues with their friend and they just let him slowly lose himself in his thought, something that they should have stopped earlier but didn't, but now that was going to change. You're right Musa, we can't let this stop us. We're going to help Naruto get through this, even if it kills us all. He's one of us, he's a part of the Winx and we're going to be there for him. Right? Bloom asks as one by one, the girls smile, now filled with determination in getting their friend back to himself. Yeah. The girls shout, pumping their fists in the air. Eventually, Flora and Tenka said their goodbyes and left for their home realms. With nothing left to do and seeing that all of the other students had left, Bloom, Musa and Stella headed to the dining room to get a bite to it. There, they sat and ate while discussing some things. Man, it still feels weird in seeing the school so empty. Stella comments, that not hearing much noise around the school. You're telling me, with all the other students and most of the professors are gone. This place has turned into a ghost place. It's just us, Faragonda and Griselda and Naruto, that is if he's still here. Musa says, looking at her bowl of cereal while fiddling with her spoon. Hey, Musa. Bloom calls out, making Musa look up to her. Yeah. Musa says. Why didn't want to go back home? To celebrate with your mom? Bloom asks. Musa flinches momentarily, thankfully as Bloom and Stella didn't notice this. She calms down while gaining her words and speaks. Oh, I really didn't want to, me and my dad aren't on speaking terms at the moment. It'd be awkward for both of us if I went back home. Musa says. Waving her hand, Bloom nods, taking the excuse with Musa looking back down at her cereal and gains a sad expression as she thinks of someone, one she's been thought of for years, and this day, hurt worse just as one other day. Since I have no one to celebrate it with. Musa thought, seeing an image of a woman who looked eerily similar to her. Oh, okay, and you Stella? Why'd you decide to stay? Bloom asks, the blonde sighs and turns to the two. Oh, guess I really haven't told you girls about this. Might as well say it since it'll probably be out anyway. I decided to stay since my mom and dad are getting a divorce. Stella says, causing the other two to look at her with open mouths. What? Bloom says as Stella lets out a sad smile. Yep, the king and queen of Solaria are splitting up. This was going to happen anyway, they've not been getting along for years and this was the final straw. I didn't want to deal with that during the weekend and I decided to stay and relax for once. That's my reason why. Why did you choose to stay, Bloom? I didn't want to go back home, even if I did just for one day, it'd just make me feel more homesick than I am right now. Guess we've all got home issues in a strange way, huh? Yeah. Bloom says, taking a sip of her tea as she then starts thinking of their missing male friend. Bloom looks at the music fairy and thought of something. Musa. Bloom calls to the musical fairy who looks up. What you said back in our dorm, how you wanted to help Naruto. Did you really mean that? Bloom asks, making Stella turn to them as Musa sighs and looks at them. I meant every word I said. He saved my life but he's hurt. He probably thinks that it was his fault that I got hurt and that he failed to protect us. And I can't help but feel guilty for letting him think that. I want to help and cheer him up. I just don't know where to start. Musa says, placing her arms on the table and blowing a string of her bang away. How are we going to get to him? None of us have seen him and I know none of us even knows where his room is. What are we going to do? Bloom. Why don't we call him? I mean, I have his number, we could call him but I'm not sure if he'll pick it up. Why? I tried calling him not that long ago and he didn't pick up the call. I tried a few more times before giving up. I'm thinking that he could pick it up now. But I don't know if he'll do it this it. It might be worth a try since it's our only option right now really. So, who'll call him? Musa asks. I'll do it. Stella, give me Naruto's number. Bloom says with Stella giving her the number. Once it was there, Bloom dials the number and lets the call go to loudspeaker to let the others hear. They heard the call ring and this went on for a little bit and this was causing the girls to lose hope a bit, but the phone was picked up and... Hello. The girls hear a voice that they haven't heard in a long time. It sounded exhausted and had no emotion in it, but they recognized it. It was Naruto. Naruto! Bloom yells, relived in hearing his voice. Oh, hi Bloom. Naruto spoke, in the same flat, emotionless tone. Naruto, are you okay? You sounded exhausted. Bloom asks. Stella and Musa lean in closer, frowns appears on all their faces, now noticing his. Why yeah, I'm fine, just tired, long night you know. Naruto chuckles, but it wasn't filled with joy, just empty. Naruto, where have you been? No one has seen or heard from you in the past 2 weeks. Bloom asks. There was silence on Naruto's side as no word was spoken to him. Sensing that Naruto might drop the call, Musa turns to Bloom. Bloom, give me the phone. I need to talk to him. Musa says. Bloom hands her the phone and Musa silently clears her throat before speaking into the phone. Naruto. Musa says as they hear movement from Naruto's side. Musa, is that you? Naruto asks, his voice has a bit of emotion to it now. Of course, it's me you dork. Who else sounds this good? Musa asks, giggling a little. It's nice to hear your voice again. I was afraid that I'd never hear it again. Naruto stammers. Musa frowns. It's nice to hear you too. But I'm worried about you. No one has seen you. Musa asks. Naruto, we've been all worried about you. What's going on? Stella says, joining into the call. Naruto didn't speak at first but eventually did. I've been in my room since that night. I just needed space. Naruto says. The girls look at one another. The words Tekna spoke rang through their heads and that made them highly concerned about him. Bloom turns back to the phone. Naruto. We need to ask, are you really okay? Bloom asks. I'm fine Bloom, great fine. Naruto says. But Naruto, we just want to know how you are right now. Stella says. I said I'm fine. And let's it at that Naruto quickly responds but this time, he sounded a bit annoyed. But Naruto. Bloom tries to interject but she was cut off. Look, if all you're just going to do is bother me by asking me if I'm okay. I'm just going to drop the call. Naruto says, sounding irritated and fed up. Wait. Dawn dash. Bloom tries to prevent Naruto from leaving but it was too late, he hangs up. Bloom tries to dial back to him but the call was immediately declined. She tries again but she found that she was blocked by him. Damn it. He's not picking up now. Great, all we've done is just make him angry at us. Bloom says, slamming her hands onto the table. They've just made things worse. Stella sighs. Maybe we should give him some time to cool down. We did push too much. Musa says. Yeah, maybe. Stella says. Suddenly, she hears a chirp from her phone. She takes it out and sees what was going on and sees she got a message, from Sky, Brandon. She opens it and reads it. Oh, Sky texted me, he says that he'll be in the city with Brandon, Sky, and Riven. And he's asking if we can come and hang out with them. Stella says. Well, maybe we could go and hang out with them. Maybe this could help us think of something on how to approach Naruto. Bloom says. Yeah, I mean, it's the Day of the Rose. There's got to be something in the city that can help us out. Stella says, standing up. Now feeling determined in helping her fellow blonde. She turns to Musa. Musa, wanna come with us? Musa just shakes her head. Sorry, not me. I've got something to do and I wanna do it alone. Musa says. You sure? Bloom asks with Musa nodding her head, feeling sure about her decision. Okay, we won't push you to come with us if you do want to. Stella says as Musa smiles. Thanks for understanding guys. Hope you have fun today. Musa says. We'll try. Bloom says the three join in for a hug before separating. We'll see you later. Bye. Bloom says, she and Stella wave Musa goodbye as they walk out of the dining room. Yeah, see you guys later. Musa says, waving them goodbye. Once she saw that she was alone, she left the dining room and processed down the hallways until she reached the closet, where she entered and went into the tunnels. She had a mission in mind. Okay, now I can try and look for his room without no one around. Hope Naruto's not too mad at us. Musa thought as she traverses down the maze of tunnels, in search of the missing blonde's room. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 5. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author Pixel's fanbook on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.